Hi, I'm Gloria.
And I'm Mari.
Just two women trying to inspire ourselves.
And others.
So
we're continuing the conversation. We have Sabrina here with us still. And just continuing that conversation of aging parents and the big change that is in the life of anyone who obviously gets like the benefit of having a parent that ages, but also the challenges that come with that.
So we wanted to know from you. You've been working now with the elderly for how long?
For a year, almost a year.
Okay. And what is it that you see as some of the most important things that we should think about? And I know we talked about the sense of community and all of that, but as we see our parents age, and even us as we age, what are some things that we should really hold as priority and really take into consideration?
I think that we need to look at loneliness. Where are they? Are they home alone, or like you, but in a generational home where there are people there?
Right.
You're not lonely. But if they are at home and they are alone, then we should consider something else. I've seen the people that come, the prospects, and you see their demeanor, and then they move in, and then you see their demeanor, and you see how they change. They brighten up because they're no longer lonely in that home. So I think that that's important to see. Where are your parents at? Are they in a house alone all day, or are they actually active in doing things? If they're active in doing things, let them be. But if it's already where they're regressing and you see them at home, action needs to take place. You need to do something. You need to think of something else.
That's so interesting.
You know what's funny? Like, this is completely off topic, and you weren't here when we spoke about it, but when she spoke now about the loneliness and that particular word, it like triggered when we were talking about how when we started being moms.
Yes.
And we were both lucky enough to stay at home with our kids. It's crazy how the changes in our lives and the stages, it's so important there's certain elements that are common to people when you're not surrounded by that community.
Right.
Whether it's a new mom, whether like my daughter who left to college, that I'm like, well, start going to the activities.
Connection.
If as human beings, if we are alone or isolate ourselves and sometimes it's difficult. It's difficult to get outside of that comfort zone, to step into something new. It's hard. It's not easy. It's sometimes it could be scary. And yes, a lot has to do with personality, but it's just like this thing that I don't know if it's like whether it's change, the fear of rejection, the fear of something new. There's so many factors that it could be.
That it could be.
But loneliness, it doesn't matter what stage of your life. It's so important to not have that feeling. And if you do, that is just like a little momentary feeling and not a lingering thing.
And the thing is also that we're also busy. We're always working. So it's not like I don't want to leave mom alone, but I also have things to do.
Right.
So what is mom doing when I'm doing my things?
It's true.
And keep an eye on that. What's happening? Is it just she gets a visitor on Sunday? We come visit on Sunday? What happens the other 6 days? Right. What is she doing?
Right.
And, it's so interesting, too, because I think then loneliness, and you touched upon this a little bit, too, like, then they almost begin to think of, like, oh, no, I'm not, because I've seen this scenario with, like, even some of my friends and their parents, where it's, no, I don't like being around people. Well, it's not that they don't like being around people, it's that they're not around people.
Exactly.
And so that's like what they tell themselves because it's just easier. Sometimes like the fear of rejection of like, no, or, oh, there's this activity you can go to. No, I've tried that and that didn't work out for me. And like, it's like they begin to like tell themselves a story.
Right.
And that they can't do that. But then when put in like a situation where they are able to connect,
you see a change,
right?
You do. I see it. I see the people that have come in at the very beginning, and I've seen how they've grown, and they have developed this sense of community. It's incredible how they come in as my apartment is 103. I'm in there, but then little by little, 103 is no longer the apartment. It's where are we? It's no longer the apartment. They love to
Yeah.
hang out outside, which is nice. It's nice to have that.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting too, because I feel like once you kind of almost like cure that part of it, like the, I wonder, and I mean, I don't know, and maybe you even have seen it, but does like their health improve as they create greater connections?
And
like,
they help each other. You feel this, you need to go to the doctor. Did you go to the doctor? So they're on top of each other.
Isn't that funny?
Which is great. Which is
Yeah.
great to have that.
Yeah.
That they worry about one another. So-
Because we know, like, I do know so much of like your health is like your mental state. And so, like, you know, if you, all you have to think about is how sick you are,
that's gonna
you know,
consume
or
you.
like that you're forgetting
consumes.
things, or, you know, then yeah, it can consume, so, you know, consume you, almost like make you worse. It's so, yeah. That isolation.
So I told you about the podcast I had been listening to, Julia Dreyfus. I forget
Yes.
the title of it, but Wiser Than Me is what it was called. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you need to listen to it too. So she interviews, you know, people who are in their golden years.
Okay.
And in every interview, you know, she always asks, like, what's one piece of advice that you feel you need to give those of us that are younger? So I can only imagine you've learned tons of things from everybody that you've interacted with in the past year, or a little less than a year. But, like, what are the lessons that you've learned? Like, what have you
Everyone's
taken
scared.
from it?
Everyone is scared of change. There's a fear. They're excited when they're coming to where we're at, but there's also a fear. Am I going to be accepted? And one of the things that we have in our community, I don't know if it's like that everywhere, is that everyone is accepted. We have this one lady, she's a stewardess, and she's American. And she thought, what am I going to do in a place like this where everyone speaks Spanish? And she's like, that doesn't happen. They speak English to me. You know, they've accepted me, which the community is very accepting. And you see this scared, and then you see them not having to be scared because, hey, come on, you're part of.
You know
You're
what I think
us.
is so interesting, right? Like, it's like at any age, you can have new experiences. Like, that's a, as I've been hearing you talk, like, you know, knowing that, yeah, at every age, anything can be, like, change is scary. But then that stepping outside that comfort zone, even like at 70, 75, 80, 85, 95, you said, right?
Yeah.
Like, that they can still have like those new experiences and be reminded of like, I can do hard things, and like, you know.
Yeah, and I put I did that also as a teacher. I try to put a quote every day, and I change the quote, and sometimes they're like, the quote was written just for me today, which is nice that they go and they check out what it is that I wrote, and does it mean anything to me? Did you write that for me today? That kind of thing,
You know,
which is nice.
that's so funny, right? Like, we think that as you get older, that maybe you don't have challenges, you know, or like, oh, you've lived life, you have all the wisdom you need, you know.
No, and they care. There's this. When I left on the trip to Europe, they cared. They were worried that it was raining here. Were we getting bad weather over there?
Oh, that's so
And
cute.
That kind of thing. We got back. Did you guys get bad weather? Because we prayed that you wouldn't get any bad weather over there. No, everything was great.
Have you heard any fun sayings or like little, like, you know how dichos, like, you know, like that?
It's funny, but they kind of have nicknames for each other. Well, and nicknames that they do have. Like, we have this one lady, her name is Hortensia, but she's called Cookie. And Cookie is, that's how she is. She's very cookie, you know, so it's cute. But everything that they do is in a loving manner. They don't have any mean or ill thought about anything that they do. And they're always thinking about, don't forget about this person. Don't forget about that person. If there's a cake, let's say we celebrate birthdays, that they're very thoughtful. Don't forget to take to so-and-so. Always remember, which is nice because we're always running. With work, we're always running. They have time to think about, hey, remember this one.
That's so childlike, like that kind of almost like an innocence, you know, like of just like an accepting of each other. Like, I always think of like how kids can be very, you know, they're just like, they just love each other, you know, and accepting.
Yeah.
And
they accept anybody welcomely.
yeah.
It's nice.
Is there any like dichos or sayings or like golden nuggets that your parents always say that you feel like?
You know, they weren't that much about dichos. That's what's funny, because when people will say them to me that are not part of the family, I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I need clarification, because my parents never really did that.
They probably had, like, there's things that they maybe did or said that weren't tied to a saying or something that you would remember. My grandmother always says, no tan alto que queme santo, ni tan bajo que no ilumbra. Like, don't do something to an extreme, you know? Like, don't, the candle, so the candle doesn't burn so high that it burns the saints, but not so low that it doesn't actually illuminate the room, you know? It's like,
oh, wow.
that every extreme is bad, you know? Like, I have like all those little golden nuggets.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
I spit out her golden nuggets to her now, and she's like, I taught you something.
How funny. But like when you were saying about how thoughtful they are and how they notice like the quote that you write and all of that, it just seems like they don't take things for granted, and that they really notice the little details.
They do. I got back, right? And I said, oh my goodness, fall. We got to prepare for fall. So I started decorating. And I started decorating because I got back, and now it's time to decorate. You're finally back. Everything looks lively now. You know, that they acknowledge that you took the time for them. They know that it's for them. So that's nice.
It is nice.
It's nice.
It's rewarding.
I love how you did this. This came out great. So it's nice.
You know, that now makes me think of something that my dad pointed out one time, and it stuck to me, because all these years, like, he was the handyman, my mom was more like your typical homemaker, took care of us, all of that. But it was last year for her birthday, and you know, we were celebrating at my house, and I don't know what had happened, but we were really busy with something. All I remember is we didn't put any like happy birthday sign or decorate. Like, we really didn't do that. We had the cake, we had the food, but I didn't decorate. You know, birthday decorations. And, you know, his mind is faltering, so there's words he can't really get to express things. But he pulls me aside and he starts to tell me, you know, where are the little things that you put up there? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, everything's the same as... No, you put these little things. And he kept on explaining these little things that you put. And then it dawned on me, he was pointing to the wall that I literally, every time there's a celebration, I will put, you know, happy birthday or celebrate the little, you know, tinsel things. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's talking about, and I go, oh, you know, do you mean? And he was like, yeah, you didn't put them for her. And I was like, oh my gosh. So then I immediately told the girls, I'm like, go to the closet and bring down the stuff. We need to put them on the wall, because... And I'm like, the last person that I would ever think pays attention to that noticed we hadn't done it. And it's the little things.
I think that's what it means the most to them, though. I feel like it's so interesting, right? It's like I don't know if it's because when maybe as you age, because obviously I'm not getting older. I'm getting older. I'm getting older, but I'm not like there yet.
Years from now.
But you know, like I'm in that hustle and bustle of living. I think she meant to say
that we're older.
Yeah, but I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet
until you get there.
But I find like my grandmother. No, I'm thinking like my grandmother notices or has like her life is like, you know, it's like she has a pace. Yeah, it's like the wisdom to notice.
Wisdom, and you see it. The older that we get, the wiser we become. We can't be ourselves last year. We've changed. Yeah. We become wiser, and
I wonder for you, like being around like that, you know, people who are older, like they're wiser, because like I don't know, like for me now living in, my husband was asking me, what was your grandmother like when you were younger? I was like, I don't remember. Because I don't remember anymore, because my memories now have been replaced of the time I have with her now. And so I'm like, I don't remember. What I remember is now. And like when I maybe, you know, lose my cool and yell at Julian for something, she's like, eso no te va a importar en 5 años. You know, and it's like, you know, she's like, te prometo que eso no te va a importar en 5 años. Like having like that wisdom around, you know.
It's true. And they keep me well. I had a liver problem, which is why I stopped teaching. And they're the ones, el hígado. cuidado con el hígado. No, don't stress. No te preocupes que el hígado. So they do,
Isn't that interesting?
and they tell you, slow down, aguanta, despacito, no te apures tanto. Which is nice. Sometimes you need that because you're thinking, I have to work. I got to do things. But that's not the pace that they're at. Relax a little bit. Relax a little bit.
It's funny because you always hear, don't worry, things will take care of themselves. And it's true. And I think the older you get, the more I think for you it's harder because they're so little.
I know, yeah, I know.
Sorry.
But honestly, like even me, I've noticed, it's true. It'll get done. It'll get done. It doesn't matter.
It gets taken care of.
Yeah. It's such a gift to have, like I always think of this and like, I know that it's like hard for them to get older, but then it's like such a gift to get older too, and then to see them. It's hard to watch them grow older, but it's such a gift to have their wisdom and their experiences. Right. And like, I think that's what like now I'm trying to extract, and I feel like you should do this too. I record my grandmother when she says stories because I just want to have those things. I don't know when the last story will be. And so just like I want to have those stories. I want to have her voice. I want to have.
That's what I was gonna say. Hearing her voice.
I've I forgot my grandmother's voice.
Yeah. Of course, it's true. But that makes sense, and you're doing it now, so you are gonna have your grandmother's.
So, yeah,
We're gonna start doing this month in October inside the residence studio.
Oh.
So we're gonna set up the library, kind of like an Oprah Winfrey thing, and interview the residents that wanted to get interviewed.
Wait,
what a great idea!
So outside of here, look at her face. Okay, when are you doing this?
Every Wednesday. For now, we're doing it every Wednesday until December.
Have you started?
No, we're gonna start now in October.
Okay.
October 11th is gonna be the first one.
Okay.
Oh my
Text
gosh.
me or communicate after this.
Okay.
So my niece, she has like she studied writing.
Okay.
And she's been wanting to do something gathering the oral stories of
The elderly.
the elderly. And she's been telling me that she's been brainstorming these ideas, and she even asked me, would you take photos if I do it? I want to create something.
Oh my
There you
gosh, this
go.
is amazing.
There it is.
I think that that's like such an amazing way to honor these people who live to this age. It takes so much to get to like those golden years, and like the 80s and the 90s and beyond. My grandmother's sister just turned 98. And I think of like the stories that they have and how much we can like draw from that,
Don't you have someone in the apartments in the community that climbed Kilimanjaro?
Yes. Sudhir, and he's taking pictures with Queen Elizabeth and all these.
Julian would love to talk to him. Can you imagine?
Yeah, we have a lot of great stories there.
I think it's just so, and then our children can learn so much from them. Like they just like that's the biggest thing. I feel like we need to honor them by telling their stories back to them. When I was thinking of your dad, I can't remember how to do that. I think sometimes like I heard this somewhere, I can't even remember where, but like we need to sing their song back to them. Like, oh, you taught me this. The only reason I know how to do it is because you taught it to me.
It came from you.
And like sing that song back to them. When my grandmother, she's like, now I cook. And that was always her thing. She was the one that cooked. She goes, I don't know, how to make, such delicious food. I was like, I didn't know how to make rice until you taught me. I didn't know how to do this until you taught me. You're the one that taught me. And so all I know is because you taught it to me, And so singing that song back to them.
Right.
I think it's like one of the gifts that we can give them. So.
And keeping their memory. Keeping their memory. Yeah. Because we never know when it's going to be the last, like you said, the last time. So it would be good to record them. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to record them.
Well, what a gift to them and to their families and to you. And
I'm going to ask you something that's a little sad, but have you had to experience anybody passing away yet?
Yes, and that hurt. When I got there was one lady that I hadn't met, and she passed away, but I didn't know her, so it didn't mean anything. There was this other lady, her name is Raquel, and she couldn't sleep at night. So I would leave out like coloring or different art things for her to do since she couldn't sleep. Well, I brought out one of those big coloring mats that for everyone, and she was the first one to color on it, and now I'm gonna put it on the wall because now she's no longer with us.
Oh my gosh.
That was hard.
How does it affect everybody else there?
And I think because you remember when that person would come here, like, Raquel hubiera estado aquí. That kind of thing. It is hard.
Wow, that is
It is hard. And they rented out her apartment again, so there's someone else already. You know, it like gets replaced. But the drawing, because she was the first one to color on that art, I'm gonna put it up on the wall.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know what? I think the fact that you're doing that, I think as human beings again, we want to know we're remembered.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that you're putting that up and showing everybody there
You will be
that they hold a place,
Yeah.
you know, in your life, that they hold a place in the community is going to be very special.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I pray that we can all do that for the people in our life that we, you know, love, and as they age and get older, that we can honor them in that way.
And remember them.
Yeah, remember
Keep
them.
that memory alive.
And show them while they're alive that they'll be remembered and treasured.
Keep their memory alive. And to you, I'm going to say, try to downsize a little bit with mom and dad. Do it together.
Yeah.
Do the downsizing together. Right? So this might be good for somebody else. Maybe someone else can use it, and start downsizing together. Make it a family thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to use it later on and they really don't have it, maybe they think that you do want to keep it and you really don't. So downsize with them.
Well, I am so grateful you're
I
here.
know, Sabrina. Thank you.
You're welcome,
It was
you're
such a
welcome.
joy to have you here. And
Thank you guys for inviting me.
so we're talking about changes this whole season in the podcast. And the next time that we gather, that we talk, we're going to be talking about it. Female changes that
So
happen.
much
So much fun. Just yeah, like we're obviously, like, as women, we have different changes in our bodies, and when we give birth, after we give birth, well, you know, and then as we go into menopause, and like, so we're gonna just
Wait a
talk
second,
about
menopause.
it. I know. So it's gonna be interesting, right, Gloria?
Oh, yeah. So definitely we have two different phases here.
Exactly.
So, but it's tolerable.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting. So, but thank you for being our guest.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Thank
me with you
you.
guys.
Yes.
All
All right. We'll see you
until
next time.